What's up, Noah? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, brother.
Thanks for coming on to the show. Do you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Yeah, my name's Noah Steinbuch. I've been modeling for 2 years now, full time in LA since I've moved out here. So it's been great. And
And how old are you?
I'm 28.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So can you walk me through like how you got into modeling, like how it began for you?
The reason I started modeling is the same reason I showed up today. Is that it scared the hell out of me, and I knew that there's a lot that I could probably learn from trying this out. I guess the longer story is that during the pandemic, I was working in a clinic. I was in grad school, and pretty much my mom, she's always tried to get me to model, and I was like, this is a mom thing,
Right.
Your grandma, your mom, are like,
You're beautiful. You should be a model.
yeah. So I brushed it off for whatever years, and then one day she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I set up a test shoot with a photographer. I paid for it already. You're going." I'm just like, "Oh shit, dude! Like I didn't. Like, damn it!" So I just went just to kind of
Wait, you were how old at this point?
I was probably 24, and I was still like hell under. I did not like being in front of the camera,
Right.
and yeah, so I showed up. Photographer was great. She super nice, and with those photos, I submitted to agencies, and I got picked up, and
Were you surprised?
I didn't really have expectation on it, so I wasn't really surprised, just because I had no expectation of if I can or can't.
Right, because your mom was the one that wanted you to do it, not you.
Yeah, it was more so like, all right, I have these photos, I might as well submit them now. It wasn't like I submitted to one agency and I got picked up right away.
Right.
It was like I submitted to a bunch of agencies and then kind of just closed my eyes, and whoever, I heard back from one.
When you did the shoot, though, were you more excited to do modeling after you experienced it, or how did you feel after the shoot?
I was super anxious before the shoot. Pretty anxious during the shoot too. Like it wasn't like super enjoyable. Like I didn't enjoy it, but I knew that like after, I was like, all right, that wasn't as bad as I built it up in my head. I knew that it was good for me in that way, that if I tried it out, I would get something from it. I wasn't thinking about whatever, making money or the rewards of booking whatever clients. It was more so that
It was a challenge for you to overcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. So when you did submit, how long did it take for you to hear back from an agency?
Man, this is a while ago. I think it was like a month or two.
Oh, so not that, well, a month or two is pretty long. But
Yeah.
you heard back within a reasonable time, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you weren't sitting for like months waiting to hear back.
Yeah,
And during that
exactly.
time, do you remember if you sent digitals or did you just send them pictures from your shoot that you did?
I think I was supposed to send digitals, because that's what you usually do. You send your digitals, you submit your measurements. I sent pictures from my shoot just because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah, what's interesting is that digitals wasn't always the requirement to submit to an agency. Like I've been doing this
really?
since 2010. So I've been working with models and modeling agencies since that time. And they weren't always, I don't even think you could submit online. I think back then it was just emails, and they didn't always ask for digitals. They usually just asked for like portfolio images, or it was an open call.
Interesting.
So that's why I am doing what I do, is because digitals weren't accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
Until after the pandemic, because once the pandemic happened, they stopped doing open calls. At open calls too, what they would do is you would bring your portfolio in, and you drop in your portfolio. The agents would come and grab the books. They would go look through them, and then they would come back. And the ones that they didn't want, they would give it back to the people. And the ones that they wanted us to keep and interview, they would interview them at open calls. And
Interesting.
and I remember that because I went to Wilhelmina open call as a photographer, and that was the funniest experience ever, because I walk in with my portfolio and everybody in that room stares at me, looking at me, and I'm like, okay, no, seriously. Like I walk into a room, everyone are aspiring models sitting in that room. I walk in with my portfolio because you, as a photographer, you could go in and put your portfolio, and that was like my beginnings, right?
Yeah.
And they all look at me, and I know exactly what they're thinking. They're thinking, why does this short guy think that he can be a model? And at that time, I did not look like how I look like. So they were valid to believe that. And so because I felt what they were feeling, I was like, I'm not a model, you guys. I'm a photographer. And everybody in that room busted up laughing because I knew what they were thinking, and I had to address it because it was like, bro, relax. I'm not a model. I'm a photographer. And then I was able to get everyone's business card and like show them my work and stuff. And then I did eventually end up working with Wilhelmina for like testing and stuff, but that's how basically
Interesting.
open calls were back. I don't even remember when that was, 2012 maybe, 2013. But then the pandemic changed everything to where now you're submitting online and they specifically ask for digitals. So that became new. So it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't asking for that back
Yeah.
then. But
I'm glad that that's not a thing anymore,
I
because
know,
that would have deterred me. I would have been like, hell no, like I don't want to do that.
well, I mean, that's kind of what like open castings are. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. That also seems, but I kind of like it though, because the people that stand out, and I really remember that specifically because I'm like, man, I'm glad I went in there, and everyone looked at me, and I could have easily felt very insecure because they're all staring at me, and I know what they're thinking, but I turned it into a favorable moment for myself because I made
Yeah.
everybody laugh, and and then because it was dead quiet
sure.
because everyone treated that moment too like dead quiet. Everyone's whispering and they're like very apprehensive because they want this thing so much.
Yeah.
And I think me just like breaking the ice and just making everybody laugh and just like it being cool was a foretelling or a foreshadowing of just how I conduct my life and stuff. So, and what was the first agency you got signed to?
It was BMG,
Okay.
like a smaller agency. I don't think.
I do know
have
it
you heard
because
of it?
one of my clients just got a contract and I just read their modeling contracts.
Oh, yeah?
So he's going to be signing with them. So I do know of them. They're basically a model and talent agency management company.
Yep.
Okay. So are you still with them or are you?
No, it's been years since.
How long were you with them when you did sign?
I was with them for probably a year.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then during your first year, what did that look like as a model?
It was dead. It was like I would get test shoots here and there, but I got booked to one job like with them. Them setting me up with test shoots and me showing up, and like that's where I learned how to like pose and stuff. It's
Right.
It was super important. Like that year is just as important as, this last year, because I learned a lot from it,
Because that was when you were developing and
Yeah, and just to be comfortable in front of the camera. It takes time.
now, before you got to do modeling at the photo shoot that your mom set up, what was your, I guess, awareness of yourself as a model and just potential to be a model? Like, what was your high school experience? Did you always look like how you looked, or was there a point where you like learned, hey, I think I'm good looking enough to do modeling, or is that something that like you're not really still aware of and you're just kind of like here because you've been led here?
I didn't have any expectation going into it. Was the act itself of showing up that, I give myself a pat on the back for. But regardless of if I just never got signed and nothing ever came out of it, that would still be fine with me as well. Like I didn't think that, this is something that I can do as a career. This is something that, I didn't really set, a ceiling, or I didn't set, a bare minimum. I think kind of just figuring out that's all I was trying to do.
Did you feel attractive at any point before this whole process? Like, were you told by anybody you should be a model, or you're a good looking dude, or like, what did your world look like? Especially because you said that you were in school.
Mm-hmm.
So what did that experience look like beforehand?
I think I was attractive, but not. This feels weird to like.
No, I mean, you can be self-aware. I mean, you can be. I mean, it's actually more helpful in life to be aware of where you stand in society and like what categories people are going to place you, because sometimes it can work to your favor and other times it doesn't. But you have to work around that.
I didn't think I could be a model. Like I wasn't aware to like, okay, modeling's a thing. Like I could definitely do this. Like I wasn't like that. I thought, maybe I'm above average, but not any sort of like, I wasn't treated super differently. I think also after I got into fitness that did change. Like maybe people treated me a little bit differently.
Well, that's why I bring it up, because I went on your Instagram and I saw like your before picture before you even like put on a bunch of muscle. So I'm like, I wonder if you went through like if you have a glow up experience that like at one point you were treated one way when you were younger, and then once you like build muscle and like had glowed up, basically where you started feeling like, oh, like I actually look at myself differently now that I look like this and feel like this.
Yeah, I didn't really feel that way in high school or even in college. Like during college, I started to work out a lot and I gained like 30 pounds. I was like 190. And then I went through a cut and I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm like lean and, I have muscle. And that's when I saw like a little bit of a difference. But I wouldn't say growing up, it was a huge thing that I noticed.
Yeah, because you're 28, so you're only 3 years younger than me. Did you turn 28 this year?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 4 years younger than me. Because you kind of grew up around the same era-ish as I did, where I think like guys nowadays, boys who are growing up in like middle school and high school, I think they're more aware of their appearance than ever before, because all these kids are always mewing. And have you heard of the mewing stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you mew?
No,
Do you mew?
I don't have time for it.
I don't even think that does anything. But what's your ethnic background?
I'm half Filipino, half German.
Okay. And how do you find that your look, if you've ever like analyzed it, has helped you, or like being mixed, has that been an advantage for you in your modeling career, do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think right now there's a big push for like an ambiguous sort of look. And I think I fall under that because I'll get booked for kind of just Latino or full Asian, or, you know, if it's a mixed casting call, then, you know, so I'm able to check a lot more boxes. And, you know, especially with Asian men over the last, like, I think, you know, the last 5 to 10 years, there's been a bigger push for Asian men, as, you know, 20 years ago, it wasn't really a thing, especially like masculine Asian men. So, I think it is. I kind of got lucky with, you know,
The genetic lottery.
no, lucky with how the industry's going.
Do you know what the genetic lottery is?
You just get born with good features, and
For specifically model, it's like when you have the face, the body, and the height is like the genetic lottery.
oh, really?
Yeah. And I guess ethnic background now, right? Especially for 2024. Going back to, you mentioned something that you went to college. What did you study, you said?
I studied biology.
Okay, and you graduated?
Mm-hmm.
And so you are what was your intent with that?
So I was in grad school. So I went from...
So you have a master's?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was in my master's during the pandemic, and like, it's like anything, the pandemic was tough. But I also realized that I have such a singular perspective on kind of just how I see the world. Like, it was just through one perspective as a college student. And I kind of wanted to try something different. I guess that made me a little bit more open to, you know, trying out modeling too.
No, that's why I bring that up, is because number one, you started modeling at 24 years old, which is cool, because a lot of people think, oh, like, what age should I start modeling, or what age is considered too old, right? And you're a good example of showing, hey, you start at 24 years old and you've been modeling for 4 years, and you know, you've been getting a lot of work. So it's cool to show people that you can get your education first and then get into modeling.
Yeah.
But not everyone has good genetics. You still look young, so it's not like everyone has that advantage. You know, some people probably will age bad, but they won't make it to their late 20s doing modeling. Because actually, no, let me ask you now, is modeling your full-time income, or do you do anything else?
Yeah, it's been my full-time income for the past few years now.
Modeling's been your full-time income?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have a degree in biology. Do you use it then?
I'm going to use it eventually. Like, I know that like, that's my love. Like, even out of school, like, I'm still reading books. I'm still like, this is what I like to learn. It's a daily thing, regardless of what my job is. Right. So I know that, you know, this is an amazing adventure. It's a cool break from school. But I don't think I'm any more, like, I'm not fulfilled. Right. I think that's in healthcare. So, with that being said, like, you know, I'm enjoying every day that I get to do this.
Well, you're treating it exactly how I tell people to treat this. I tell people, like, get into modeling as a side quest in life. You know, like,
I love that.
Do it as a means to have an experience, make some money to put aside, but prepare for it to be over and figure out your way forward, because it's not going to last for most people to be like a career that you're going to be in your 50s and do. Some people can model into their 50s, but not everyone does. So you doing it as a side quest is exactly what I try to encourage people, because it's a kind of like a once in a lifetime. You're only going to be young for a certain amount of time, so you might as well try what you can from it. But have a plan. Don't ride on it as if you're going to be supporting a family and buying a house from modeling, because you definitely ain't going to do that. But what would have been your occupation if you would have continued on without modeling?
So I was in a post-bac program during the pandemic, and that after completion, that would have led into a medical degree. I would have went to medical school. So, I mean, I don't know what specifically I would specialize in, or, you know, I'm kind of just open, but it would have been somewhere in that direction.
So like a doctor eventually?
Yeah.
So that's how many more years left that you would have to be doing?
A lot. That'd be 4 years. 4 years in med school, and then, you know, 3 to 7 in residency.
Crazy. So you did a model detour towards that path.
Yeah.
Do you think though by the time that this like dries out, you'll actually be still interested in becoming a doctor?
I've gotten more interested since being out of school because it's not like I'm learning with the pressure of I have to study for a test. Like right now, I'm still learning stuff like through reading, and like it's coming from me though. It's not coming from like it's what's interested to me.
Right.
Like I genuinely enjoy the learning itself. So I didn't really expect that. Like when I left school, I thought I would just be like, I'm just
like
gonna...
it's still lingering. The passion is still lingering there, and you're still drawn
exactly.
to it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been an interesting perspective shift. It's not really like, this is coming at me and how do I do this? It's more like, this is what I want to do. Like I'm coming at it from a different angle.
Right. Right.
Which I only think I would have been able to get that perspective if I had stepped away from it the way I did.
So how do you think this experience, having done modeling, will make you a better doctor and just like better for your future?
With how many people that I've met through all of this, I've met literally so many different types of backgrounds, so many different types of people. I truly, with each person that I talk to, it's almost like, I guess it's kind of like a different understanding of people. It's like how I see people. I think before I saw people as patients, and it was kind of just easier to see them as a problem because they're coming in with issues. Now it's kind of like I see people as, more holistically. They have their own background story, their own anxieties, their own story. And talking with so many different people for, if you're casted for a day or a 2-day or 3-day shoot, it's like you talk with them a lot during that time. I guess maybe a little bit less judgmental and kind of just, you get to learn about people and they have their own stories. They have their own thing going on, their own, just a different understanding, I would say. So
that goes to show that the experience you have in modeling is a very interpersonal type of experience where you really build relationships and you learn how to know people deeply and see people. It's a very people-based industry. So that type of experience helps you become more of an effective doctor because you approach people differently, having had that experience doing modeling, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's not something that I came into modeling for that reason,
right?
But it was a nice kind of surprise that, oh wow, my perspective is a little bit shifted from this. So
now, when you tell people in the industry that you work with, when they get to know you and you're on set and you tell them, yeah, I have a master's degree in biology, what's the reaction?
I usually don't tell people, like, unless they specifically ask me. If someone's actually interested in learning about where I grew up and if I went to school or not, then yeah, if it's directly asked. But usually I try not to, for just if it doesn't come up in conversation, then I don't feel the need to say it.
So do you find when you're working with models in the industry that a lot of them, when you have deep conversations, have like future plans after modeling, or a lot of them just like, oh, this is it, modeling is like what we do and that's all we're ever gonna do?
Yeah, I think it's all over the place. I think there's a wide like spectrum. Some people are have full careers and they're still modeling. Some people are using modeling to develop other skills like acting or music or something along those lines. Some people are career models that they've been doing it for years and they're probably going to be doing it for for a while longer. I
think it's even more interesting because I find that like doing commercial lifestyle type of modeling is probably like the safest and also like the most lucrative. Because you wouldn't say that like, have you gone to Milan, New York, Fashion Week? Okay, so you're a commercial model.
Yeah,
you do
for
lifestyle
sure.
and I think you mentioned fitness as well. So that's a unique, specific type of modeling where I think that the people that do it are the ones that are able to really have a lot planned for their life because they do see it as a side quest. That's in my experience. A lot of these models who do commercial lifestyle. It's mainly fashion models that like the fashion industry tends to take itself so seriously. So models that are fashion models take it so seriously. Like they take it very seriously And I think that's why a lot of them can be kind of like disillusioned by the industry to make it appear like it's going to be like a forever thing. Even though lifestyle models are the ones that usually have the most duration because they can work up until they're in their 60s because of the opportunities that you have in commercial. So going into the type of modeling that you do, name some of the jobs that you've done as a model, like some of the brands that you've worked with.
Yeah, I've been lucky to work with a bunch of cool clients. My first like actual agency gig was with Pepsi.
Wow.
And that one was super cool.
That was your first job?
Yeah.
That's pinned on your Instagram, right? Oh, okay. I didn't know that was your first job. Wow.
Yeah. It was.
Oh, wait. That's the one with Doja Cat, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was freaking scared for that one. That I almost walked away because we had rehearsals the first day and everyone's warming up, and man, I was freaking out. I almost walked down. I'm like, dude, I can't do this. Like, I'm glad I didn't.
Well, walk it back. So you get an email from your agency. What's the subject title? Do you remember?
It was a few auditions. So it was first the self tape, and then
so it was an audition. So they first sent you an audition. Hey, there's this commercial Pepsi. How much information did you know?
It looked like a pretty standard audition. Like, say these lines, like, hold this can, look, give a look, you know.
And you knew it was for Pepsi?
No, it was NDA at that time, and it was sent to everyone though, like, because they were accepting all like races. So like all my like friends that I had known in modeling, they had all received the same sort of request. So it was everywhere across all agencies. So it was like, oh, cool, we're all doing the same audition. Lit. And then I got a call back, and then did the call back, and then I got another call back, and then, you know, after that they put me on hold. So I ended up
when you got put on hold, how did you feel? Did you think you were going to get there? Did you still think like, oh, it's probably going to fall through? Or like, what were your expectations?
I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know how holds worked. Like, I didn't know it was like, oh, between me and another guy. Like,
that's what a hold means. Explain it again.
So pretty much if you're on hold, most of the time it's between you and another guy. And then it's up to whatever producers or executives, what they want to go with. But, so I mean, some clients, like, they put hella people on hold and they're just like,
what is it called when you're officially booked for it and you're the talent? Are you just known as the talent, or like, what is the official terminology
for if you're
job?
booked?
Yeah. Just confirmed.
Yeah. Usually the email, it says confirmed for blah, blah, blah.
Okay. So then you get confirmed. What's your reaction?
I didn't really know what to expect. So it wasn't super, it wasn't like, oh, dude, this is my dream. You know, it was kind of just like, oh, cool. Like, kind of nervous, but also like, oh, this is kind of lit. I didn't think I was going to book it.
Did you have any information about who was going to be on set and what the project was going to be?
No, it was all NDA. That's why I was kind of like, when I showed up, it was like 50 dancers and like...
Wait, when did you know it was Pepsi though?
On set, like the second day.
You didn't know when you got the confirmation for this booking that it was for Pepsi? Did the confirmation email show you your day rate and any usage rates?
Yes. For the original casting call, it did show it. But it's non-union. It's not like a commercial where it's SAG and you just get like freaking boatloads of money. What
was the rate that it said when on the casting?
Don't quote me because this was like years ago. I think it was around 2,000 to 2,500.
Okay.
For the day rate and usage after that. So yeah.
So you got the confirmation email. You had already known what the day rate was going to be before even knowing what the project was. You only know that it ends up being Pepsi when you go to set on the second day. What did you do the first day?
The first day was, the first 2 days actually. So maybe it was the third day that I figured out, but it was just rehearsals. And a lot of it was just the dancers rehearsing. For me, I'm just walking to point A to point B. It's not really much. So yeah, it was 2 days of rehearsals and then we figured out on set.
When did you find out that Doja Cat was involved?
It was probably that first day.
Okay, so you had already known that Doja Cat was involved, but you knew Doja Cat was involved, but not Pepsi until day 3.
Again, this was a while ago. I don't know which
maybe
day.
You probably remembered more, or maybe then in the moment you knew, but you probably just don't remember at what point you find out.
Yeah. I think we found out that it was Doja Cat when they started I think it was like a rumor mill. Like someone had told someone and like, oh, we think it's Doja Cat that's going to be in this blah, blah, blah. And that's how I heard about it. Yeah, for Pepsi, we found out the day of the set. We knew it was going to be some sort of like
Big soda company.
But
Right.
yeah, we didn't know exactly what. It
How was it like working with Doja Cat?
was cool. Yeah, it was fun. I'm not. Yeah, I
Was she a big deal then? I don't even remember if she was a big deal then. 2021 it was?
yeah, I think that was like maybe a couple years after she had like
Blown up.
blown up.
I can't keep up with the timeline of everybody's fame at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, they've been famous for that long? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even remember. Did you like interact with her and stuff? Like,
Yeah, we talked a bit.
okay. How was it like working with celebrity? Like that was your first experience, your first gig being a celebrity working experience. I mean, have you worked with celebrities since?
I just had a Crocs commercial with a big streamer, Valkyrie. That was cool too. Yeah, I think those are the only two celebrities that I was like lead with. So
That's pretty dope. What were some of the biggest jobs you've had since Pepsi? Like, let's name drop all the big brands that you've worked with since.
to name a few, I would say Savage, Fenty. I worked with Dick's Sporting Goods. I've worked with Crocs. I have a international campaign with Adidas right now. And an international with Icos right now. Man, I feel like I'm like forgetting so many, but just being
Go on your Instagram. Do you have anything on your Instagram?
yeah.
You know that you're a inspo career path for some of my model friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How?
They look on your Instagram and they're like, I want to work like this guy. Like, he looks like he works a lot and he looks like he books a lot and he has a cool look and yeah. And he has tattoos and he's a fit body and stuff.
Oh, wow. Well, that's nice to hear. Thanks.
So a lot of people are going to be watching this podcast because they're going to want to hear your story. Good to know though that you're working full time from this, like only doing modeling for right now. For how long has it been since you've been full time though modeling?
It's been, the first year was like nothing. It was like, working in a clinic. The second year was kind of like hybrid. Like I was working other jobs. Like I was doing like catering. I was doing other stuff just to like pay rent because it takes kind of a while to work into the industry, I feel like. And then when I moved up here, it got a lot easier just because I was able to kind of just meet a bunch of people where it's like half the work I get is, from my agencies, but also, self-submitting and people that I've met and they're like, hey, we need someone for this job. And, so I'm getting work from different places, basically.
Right. No, I think it's smart to, I mean, I started making more money when I moved. I'm from Chino Hills, which is like the suburbs, 45 minutes east from here. But I'm making more money having lived in LA because there's a lot more opportunity. And I didn't even really realize that was like a thing where you should be living in the market that you're expecting to make more money from. Because you moved from San Diego to here. Yeah. So obviously it makes sense that you're going to be available for more castings, just going out more, meeting more people that are in the industry.
For sure.
Making face with people is like one of the most important ways and the best way you can actually make money. So it makes total sense. But full time being in LA has been for 2 years or a year?
So I've been in LA for 2 years now.
Wow. Was it hard for you to like quit other jobs? Clinic is what you were doing for work? And that has to do with?
I was working in a PT clinic, as a PTA.
Okay.
So, no. I was like,
because sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I should quit my job because what if I don't get a booking for modeling next month? Because this month was a great month, but I don't know how next month is going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I could always, I knew that, it's not like I would just be starving. Like I could always go back and work, whatever job I was doing. I just wanted to try out something different. I knew that it was going to be slow. Like I moved up with no security of, this is going to work. It's like, if it doesn't, then I can work in a clinic up here. You
had a backup plan at least.
Yeah. Or
do you believe in that saying, don't have a backup plan or something like that? It's like plan A is the only plan. Have you heard of that saying?
Yeah.
Plan B is for failures or something like that?
Yeah.
Do you believe in that? I don't, for the record. I think everyone should have a backup plan.
I think it's the wrong way to frame it. I think if you enjoy something, then show up every day to do it regardless of whether you're getting the outcome or rewards that you want. If I'm going into a casting, right? Like it's showing up, not whether I get booked. I give myself the pat on the back for showing up. So going about it that way, I guess it's less results oriented, and you get to it's more process based, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's great thing to say, because that's what I was taught as a music artist, that most opportunities favor those who show up, you know. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I've learned is just show up, show up. Fortune favors the brave, right? But you're only brave if you show up. If you don't show up, you're not brave, and you're not gonna have the fortune of opportunities and stuff. So that makes sense. So to go back to answer the question that you got your phone for, the different brands. So Crocs.
Sure. I already forgot the freaking. Okay, so
Crocs.
Yeah,
Ico.
I did a thing with Meta. I was like a little AI
Oh,
character.
yeah, I saw that. Okay.
That was fun.
Did that pay well?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a good one. So
Nice. A Zucker
Adidas.
check. You said you're in stores right now, or you're in their campaign?
I'm in stores right now.
So tell me about your first experience seeing yourself in stores.
I haven't visited it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you would think that would be like the first thing I do is visit it, but I just, some people have sent me pictures and they're like, oh, cool.
I'm glad that you don't have this much of a I wouldn't say care, but you don't have this much of a, like, it doesn't like affect you. I think like modeling, from what I'm gathering from this conversation, is just like a thing that you do, and it's like cool and it's great, but it's like, it's not what you live and breathe. And it's like, oh my God, I need to go on this. I mean, everyone has a different approach to it. Like if you saw Kaylee's interview when she went into Paxton, she ran in screaming, and it was like this most exciting thing. And then there are other people that's like, hey, I'm grateful to be here, but it doesn't define me, and it's not all I'm going to be doing in life. And it seems like that's kind of how you approach it, where it's like, yeah, if I get to see it, cool, like, but that hasn't been on my forefront to do.
When you give yourself kind of the pat on the back, it truly isn't when I see a billboard or something. It's the everyday of like, okay, I submitted, so now I get to pat myself on the back. It's a daily thing. So it's not when I book the big thing and it's like, oh man, this was what I've been waiting for. It's like I had given myself space each day in the process of doing it. So I guess that maybe that's why it seems kind of like I haven't visited or whatever, because I had already given myself that like yay moment. It's spread out, I guess.
Do you think, well, so does that mean that you've never seen yourself in stores, generally speaking, from any of the work, or just this particular campaign?
Have I seen myself in store? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Like usually someone will send it to me and it's like, oh, okay, they sent me a picture, like lit. But now I don't have to I don't have to go there, you know? So I don't think I have.
Maybe you should, and just go see what you would feel like, so you could appreciate, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, I don't know. I guess I don't, because I'm an artist, and like when it comes to photography or my music videos for music, or even just like, I'm thinking about like a house right now. Like if I were to, like, yeah, I show up, I built a house, but I also want to like see the house completed, and like I want to see people live in it, and I want to see it serve its purpose. I guess I want to see what it looks like being served its purpose, because it's a part of the whole experience. So if you haven't seen yourself, or you haven't seen yourself in stores, and I think that would be cool for you to like just experience, just be like, what would it feel like? Maybe you won't feel anything, but
no, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You gotta see your finished product, because it's still something that you contributed to, and you were a part of making it come to life, you know?
Yeah, no, that's,
maybe you'll cry and you won't even know. You're like, oh my God.
That's a good point. I should. I have a Tilly's campaign dropping this month. I'll visit it. I'll visit it, and then I'll send you a picture.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, like, I visited one. Yeah.
That's cool though. It's cool. Of all the jobs that you've done, where have you been able to travel to doing modeling?
Over this last year, I've been really fortunate to, travel all over the US. A couple of days ago, I was in New York. I was in Louisiana for another shoot a couple months ago. And for the Crocs, I was in Oregon. I've shot with Alpha Lee in Houston. Went to Cancun a few months ago for a shoot. So it's kind of just been all over the place, and I'm just enjoying it. So
Are most of the jobs that you do like commercials for TV versus print, or how much of what you do is actual commercials versus print stuff, or both?
the commercial acting side of things, like that's kind of rare for me. Like I'll get it every once in a while, maybe like once in every 6 to 8 months. I'll get a commercial thing.
Like Meta was commercial, right?
Yeah, so that's kind of rare. Usually it's like commercial print stuff or, social media stuff or for whatever brand or, pop-up stuff for a store. Usually it's not, like big nationally televised, commercial acting gig. But
what pays more of all the things that you've done? Commercials, print, ad campaigns?
I would say commercial stuff by far. Yeah.
Okay. And like what could a model expect to make from commercial work? Not only including their day rate, but their usage fees.
And with New York, it was like a 1,200 day rate, no usage or anything like that. That's everything for 1,200. And, after hotel and, flights and food and Ubers and all, like I'm probably walking with like $500 over, I'm blocking off 3 days.
What did you do in New York?
It was just e-com for a brand called Fanatics.
And you had to pay for yourself to fly out there and to stay?
Yeah, it all depends on the client, really. I was booked as a local, and so I'm just saying
because you have an agency out there.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're with major models.
Yeah. So I was saying the range just so like, I'm not gonna say like the biggest thing that I've booked and like expect that, it's a range. So that also shows you that I didn't really like, I see it as like a free trip out to New York.
Right. You didn't
like
profit much.
It's not really about the $500. It was I enjoyed my time. That was cool. I met some cool people. Through the view of like money, I don't go into this job for money. Like it's, you're probably going to not have much fun if that's the way you go about it. So just go about it from the experience, and wherever you end up, you can enjoy whatever it is.
So specifically New York though, it was 3 days, $1,200 a day. So
it was 2 days were flight. So it was 1 day, 1,200, but I blocked off 3 days out of my schedule too. So, yeah. And I was booked during those days for other stuff, but I decided not to do it. I probably would have made more doing those shoots in LA. But it's New York.
Was that your first time going to New York?
For work.
Nice.
So yeah, I think.
What was the brand? Are you allowed to say?
Fanatics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fitness brand?
Yeah. It's like a jersey.
Nice.
Like brand. So
a lot of male models are going to look at your Instagram, and it looks like you work a lot, and male models don't tend to make a lot of money in the industry, at least in fashion. Commercial might be a little bit different. So in the 4 years that you've been doing modeling, what's the total amount of money that modeling specifically has made you? I
think the best way to answer this is that, right now I'm living comfortably, and, I'm able to pay my stuff and travel whenever I want and put a little to savings, but it's not, I don't want that to be the main focus. If I give you a number, and that automatically creates expectation for whoever's listening to this. And I don't think that's not what I'm trying to do. So yes, it's possible to live comfortably, at least for this span, maybe not forever, but right now it's okay. I'm still, budgeting and stuff, but that's not really why I joined this. So I guess that's what I'll give you.
Okay. Does that mean though, right? Because a part of what I do for this, a part of what I'm doing on this platform is to teach models how to conduct a business. In your experience, can models influence the amount of money they make in the modeling world, or is it completely out of your hands, do you think, from your experience?
I see that as kind of like a numbers game. When I first moved out here, I was signed with a separate agency that wasn't BMG, and they gave me work for like I was working with them for 6 months and it was great. And then it just went cold. It was like zero after that. So I was like, oh shit, am I gonna have to move back to, I might have to pick up a different job. And I figured out that kind of just getting as many self-tapes as you can, that's, you're going to get booked to whatever percent of self-tapes you put out. So the more self-tapes, the more you get booked. With that in mind, I left that agency and signed to as many agencies as I could, which is something that my last agent, he was like, no, don't do that. That's way more work for them, especially if they're your mother agent. Like they don't want to have to hear all these random agencies hitting you up. So I left them and I just got signed to a bunch of different agencies and I got, way more self-tapes than what I would have without that. And so I got booked way more and that's helped a lot. And then, so I got way more self-tapes with more agencies. And I was able to get booked a lot more often because of that.
Which is what I'm talking about, because my brother's an actor and whatever, we have conversations about this type of stuff all the time because I look at things from a business perspective. So I say, okay, if you're doing, let's say you do five self-tape submissions and for every 5 you get 0, but for every 20 you get at least 1 callback. So doesn't that mean that mathematically you're going to attempt to do at least 20 a month to get at least 1 callback, right? But let's say maybe 5 out of every 10 callbacks you do, you'll get 1 booking. Okay, well, what does that look like numbers wise? It means that then you have to do 100 self-tapes or whatever the math is. But you get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like you have to figure out, and because that's what you do when you run ads. I run ads for my business. And so I understand these numbers. And that's why I'm like, if you're an actor, you should be doing how to determine whether or not something that's worthwhile is if you're increasing the amount of self-tapes or auditions or castings that are made available to you. But if you're not increasing it month to month, then you're not opening up the availability, the options, the opportunities you have for bookings.
Exactly.
So that's something that I would then tell someone like my brother, where I'm asking him like, hey, like how many castings are you getting or auditions? And it's like, if it's not growing, then I'm like, leave your agency, bro. Like find another agency that's going to get you more abilities for you to submit or self-submit on your own, but at least make it onto your calendar monthly. Like how many submissions are you doing? I'm only doing 10 or 5. Why? Like submit more, figure out how you can submit more because you're going to have more opportunities to get more bookings. So that's why I asked that question. Like how much of it do you think is in your control versus just letting it to the wind and just kind of chance, right? Because I want to believe, and I do believe because I'm a business owner and I for sure believe that's why I'm offering this masterclass, that you can influence how much money you make as a model. It takes work. You've seen my Instagram, so you see how I like inform people, not only how they run their Instagram, but how to take more effective test shoots. We've also even talked about, which we'll hopefully talk about more about, like your portfolio and making sure that your agency's on top of updating it and the kind of pictures that they put in it and stuff. These are all things, and just also like one thing that I teach in the masterclass that I love re-emphasizing because I think it's such a brilliant concept, which is winning the favor of people over you, which is going into jobs that you do or with your agency and ensuring that they remember you, that they like you, and that they favor you, because they will always put in their energy and time into the people that they remember and the people that they favor. And if you're a boring person and you leave no memory of yourself when you go to jobs or when you're interacting with your agency, then you're forgettable, and forgettable people make less money. So that's a big part of, why I try to teach that to people so that they can make more money, so that it's not just only an experience, but it's also a tangible experience with some sort of, profit that they can sustain themselves at least. So that's why I was asking, like, if you, from your experience, but so you mentioned, so you at that period of time, you were signed to multiple agencies, you did more self-tape submissions, so you saw more opportunities as a result, right?
With that being said, I was getting a lot more. I am getting a lot more self-tapes, a lot more auditions and, callbacks. It's obviously more work, right? Submitting and then doing self-tapes and all this stuff. But I mean, I think you get better as long as you do it, more often. And, with that being said, I also, submit through like my own casting networks and, New Book and Backstage. Like I do my own submissions, not through agencies as well, because I still feel like there's, I can get booked through there too.
Right. No, you're doing your part, which is what you should be doing. This is why, I'm a photographer, but I'm not represented by an agency. How do you think I get my own jobs? It's like I get my own jobs because I market myself. I create content on social media, and that's what I think models should be doing as well. It's like they shouldn't just be reliant on an agency to get them jobs because there are other opportunities. It's a little bit tricky, but are you exclusive with all your agencies or non-exclusive?
It depends on the region. I made sure to keep LA non-exclusive so I can do my own thing.
Smart.
Which it's kind of difficult because agencies don't really want to give like a non-exclusive contract. So, that is a little difficult to do, but it's been working well so far.
Today's podcast is brought to you by me, Brandon Andre. If you're a model who wants to become a working model, then you need to enroll in my Model Masterclass today. In my online class, I teach models how to make more money by showing them how to manage their careers as a business. From getting signed, to building a portfolio that gets you jobs, to building an audience on TikTok and Instagram, then monetizing it, to learning how to win the favor from your agents and casting directors, to learning how to brand yourself on social media, and how to lure in brands and brand deals to increase your income as a model. Getting signed doesn't mean you'll get work, but learning how to run a business does. So enroll in my Model Masterclass now by going to my website at brandonandrephoto.com.
With that being said, because you do commercial acting and modeling, how does that work if you're signed to a modeling agency for specifically print work and then you book like a commercial acting gig? Let's say you get that commercial acting gig on your own. Let's say you get it on your own. And let's say you were exclusively with this print modeling agency in LA. Is that something that they would fight for?
Yes. That is something they would fight for.
Also depends on the contract, actually. Because the contract should say...
If the contracts overlap, then yes. You have two contracts going against each other pretty much. I can only give my experience just like for what I do. I'm not saying that, this is what everyone should do. What has worked best for me is that I have a commercial acting agent that puts me out for just commercial work. I have agencies around LA that I'm signed to, for example, No Ties in San Diego, It Models in OC. I'm signed to a Santa Barbara agency, like random, but they're only exclusive to OC, to Santa Barbara.
Right.
They can submit me to LA. Like, hey, this isn't through contract, like you can submit me to LA. I don't have a contract in LA, like for print, for whatever. Like I have no contract for LA. You can submit me there if you want, but it's, not going to be written in the contract, or if it is, it's non-exclusive. So for No Ties, it's non-exclusive. They're representing me in LA, but it's non-exclusive. So I guess it's kind of like...
What does that mean? That means if they get you a gig in LA, that means that you have to choose to pay them?
It means that they can under contract submit me to LA, but it's just they can submit me. It's not they're exclusively representing me in LA.
Which means that anybody else in LA who decides to be submitting you non-exclusively can also submit you for something. And then that causes a problem because what if the agency that
they're submitting me to multiple stuff,
or maybe the same stuff,
exactly. I've never, oddly enough, because I kind of just shot in the dark, like, all right, this is a possibility that could, like, if they're submitting me to multiple submissions to the same gig, like, that might not be good.
Let me clarify for my audience because I want to make sure they understand what we're talking about.
I know this I'm probably confusing.
Yeah, there's modeling agencies. There are talent agencies. Modeling agencies will focus on print work, and a lot of times also they do commercial, right? But sometimes there are models that are signed to, they're actors basically. And so they have a theatrical agency and they have a commercial agency. So that's what we're talking about here, where you can be signed to a talent agency for actors and they can be representing you for both theatrical and commercial. But you can also be signed to a fashion modeling agency and they're just going to submit you for print work. But sometimes these fashion agencies can also submit you for commercial work. So it can conflict. It can be confusing. But the other thing is, is exclusive versus non-exclusive. Exclusive means that your agency represents you and only they can advocate and send you out for things. So if you're signed in Los Angeles to, let's say, LA models, they have an exclusive contract with you. That means only they're allowed to get you work, and you're not even allowed to get yourself your own work, but everything has to be funneled through them. But if you are non-exclusive, it means that anybody in Los Angeles can get you work, and whoever gets you the work is the one that gets paid, but no one, you're not beholden to anybody. The problem with that, though, is that when you're non-exclusive, they're not going to push you out as much because you're basically like in an open relationship, is exactly kind of how I've placed it. You're in an open relationship, so you're non-exclusive. So just how it works in relationships, like it's not, you're not going to get the same type of love and energy. So that's kind of the con of that. So with Noah's situation, you have multiple. Oh, the other aspect of what we're talking about too is him having in California different agencies in different markets. So when we think of markets in modeling, we think of New York, LA, Milan, London, Paris, all that. But in California, there's also micro markets known as Orange County, San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles. I've never heard of Santa Barbara, but I guess that's a thing.
I never heard of it either.
So that's a thing. And so within these micro markets, you have exclusive contracts with modeling agencies. So you're signed in San Francisco too, right? With Look.
Mm-hmm.
You're signed in San Diego with
Scout.
Sorry. You're signed in San Diego with Scout.
Mm-hmm.
You're signed in San Diego with No Ties. LA. What's your LA agency?
Oh, well, I have a commercial and TV, but
Okay.
I don't have a modeling.
Right.
Yeah.
So he has a commercial agency for acting. Who are they called?
Ferrari Talent.
In Santa Barbara, who's your agent?
HGM, Sharon.
Okay. And then in New York you have Major Models.
Mm-hmm.
And then are you signed internationally in any other market?
Not internationally, just a bunch of US stuff.
Okay. Are you signed in any other US market?
Yeah.
Where?
I have a Pacific Northwest. I have a Midwest. I have
Oh my
a
gosh,
Texas.
bro.
I have
Really?
Yeah, I have.
Are those exclusive to those markets, or are those also
Those are exclusive to those.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not
exhausting.
going to find
Yeah.
anyone else in the. I'm just like I kind of see it as okay. If I'm signed to freaking 10 agencies, if they all get me 1 or 2 gigs a year, that's
Right.
a pretty noticeable difference compared to just being with it. Yeah, it does have its drawbacks because multiple submissions, like you're your own mother agent, really.
Right.
You're talking to them as if you would be a mother agent.
Do you have a mother agent?
No.
When you do sign to these markets, you are considered a local model. Are you considered direct in any of these other states where you're represented?
No, they know that I'm in LA, but it's up to the client to say, hey, this gig is only, only locals, or you're booked as a local, which means you don't have to live there, but you would have to pay for your flight there and your stay there if
Right.
you're booked as a local.
Which is why when he was in New York, he had to pay for his flight because they booked him as a local model because he signed to his agency Major Models. That's the scenario in which he has to pay for his whole thing. But if he was living in New York, it wouldn't have been an issue. But that's the caveat. It's like they're not going to fly you out because you're not living in that market, which
Yeah.
is why people don't understand when you go to models' Instagrams and you see that they have like 5 different agencies on their Instagram. It doesn't mean that they're working all those markets. They just have representation, but you really have to live in that market in order for you to actually get work. Or, someone likes you and they decide to fly you out, booking you direct, or they say, hey, like we're doing this commercial shoot in Utah and it's a local, and they do that too for actors, which is a whole other world. But there's a lot of agencies like in Albuquerque, for instance, where Netflix has a headquarters in, where they either can book local or they book, or you can fly in and be considered local. It's a whole thing. How often do you get work in all these other states?
It's
Varies.
once a year. Like
Right.
It's about kind of what I expected. It's about once a year, but it's a bunch of different agencies. So, it's ideally you could be like KJ and just you got a dope mother agent and they put you to a dope agency and that agent likes you and you're chilling. You don't have to do all this. but not.
Would you want a mother agent going forward, or like do you
I
like
tried
your situation?
I tried multiple mother agents, and it's just you don't get as much work. I'd rather do it myself and get more work. So it would be easier to have a mother agent, but it's just no one's gonna push you like yourself. In markets. So
there's a lot of caveats to that too, because if you have that ethic, you're going to make more money regardless of if you have a mother agent or not. So based off of your experience, do you think that people can reasonably expect to live off of modeling alone and nothing else, no other additional income?
Like I said, I wouldn't expect anything. I would expect you, if you really wanted to pursue modeling and,
buy my
move
course.
out. What?
Buy my course.
Yeah, buy his course. But move to the market that fits you, or just move to the biggest market and see how it works. Don't solely rely on that though. Like, have a way to make money, but also test shoot, submit. Go to casting calls, go to open calls, whatever. Yeah, I wouldn't expect to be making anything really.
But you are solely living off of modeling for the last year, right?
For the last 2 years.
Is that not an example of a case for a model that can live off of modeling solely?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a different question. I would say if you were to expect it, like, how you framed it the first time, should a model expect to? No. Yes, I am an example of, I'm living off just modeling, but I wouldn't say to expect it.
So you're a male model and you have a physique. Fitness is a part of what you do, and your body is a part of what you do as a male model. And I know that male models experience, female models as well, but male models will experience a lot of very uncomfortable situations that they're put through in this industry. Have you experienced that firsthand yourself, being a model in this industry?
I haven't personally. I would say that does happen. I have model friends that they're put in weird situations with, photographers or even agents. I don't really leave that door open where it's like they can tell right away that's just I'm here for the shoot. Like, I'm not trying to like get on your good side. I'll be kind, I'll be nice. Yeah, I'm not trying to. I'm here for the shoot. I know friends that they'll get in sticky situations where it's like they really want to make this happen. They really want to get them to like them, so they're maybe, super friendly. And I think sometimes, maybe they can take that, the photographer or whatever, they can take that the wrong way, or they're in a position of, I guess, power. So if tested in that way where, you are, just shutting the door down, regardless of if they don't like you after that, it is what it is. You don't want to be doing business with someone that's kind of sus, right? It's bad for business. It's not a good, thing to go forward.
Don't touch me there. That's my no square.
Exactly.
That's good though, but I would attribute that to you working more in commercial commercial lifestyle stuff.
I agree.
I think fashion models tend to have it the worst.
I completely agree.
But it's good to know that you haven't, because fitness and body is a big part of what you do, so that can easily happen to someone like you too. So you recently did a shoot for Crocs, and it was kind of like a trailer for a movie, but it was also like making fun of like a parody type of thing. How was that experience for you? Because it was acting, and was that an acting gig? Or is that a modeling acting gig?
Commercial. It was from my commercial acting agent. That was really fun. It was a silly freaking shoot. Like, we were just laughing the entire time, freaking all up in each other's face. It was really cool. It was a really cool experience. First time I had like multiple lines. So
if someone came up to you like, hey, we want to put you in a movie and you're going to be this like lead actor, action man, would you just be like, cool, I'm open to it?
It would be the same way if I was a supporting actor in the movie, or if I was whatever. It was
You're just down for challenges, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's just cool. I could probably learn something from that. That's cool.
Right. So you've done runway shows, right? How has that experience been doing runway? And did you do it in LA, or did you do it in New York, or where did you do runway shows?
Yeah, I did LA Fashion Week, but I don't really get booked much for runway, just because I'm a little bit shorter. I'm a little bit stocky for runway. I don't fit into the clothes the same way as you should, pretty much. Like, they like thinner guys and they like taller guys. So I don't really do that often. I've only done like 2 shows. So
Did you get paid for those shows?
yeah. It was like 500. Like it wasn't a lot.
I didn't think that I thought that the most that you would get paid in Runway was like $200.
Really?
So when people have been telling me like, nope, they're getting paid like 400, 500 for some of these models. I think 500 is like the most that I've heard, but not in LA. I thought in LA they'd be paying them less. So I noticed that your portfolio on your agency's website isn't updated. Do you know why that would be?
Yeah. The last time I tested was like, testing is like when you pretty much update your book. So if I was a good model, I'd be testing often, but last time I tested was like February or something. I guess there's less of a pushing factor to do it just because all my measurements are the same. My tattoos are the same. My hair is the same. I look the same as when I was a year ago. So it's just,
He doesn't age, you guys.
so
He really is the Twilight vampire.
yeah. So I just,
have they put that on you to test though? Like, hey, we need new marketable images of you. Like, send us, go test. Have they put that on you or
no, that's, I think is another thing. Like if I had a mother agent, they probably would like, hey, test with this photographer, this and that. Like,
I'd be telling you that.
No, yeah, I mean that's what I should be doing.
I'd be telling, bro, you should be testing. Come on.
No, for sure.
Maybe we could do a test. Hey,
yeah.
How is the relationship with your agents that you have, like in New York and in San Francisco, and the ones that you're exclusive to? How is your relationship with them?
We're not close, so it's more, I guess I would say, transactional. Like, if you have a gig that I'm a good fit for, then yeah, I'm always gonna respond fast and do the self tape fast, and that's what agents love. You know, if you respond quick, do your self tapes, like be available. So yeah, I would say it's not like we're close or anything, but.
Do you think that matters to models? Like, do you think that having a better relationship and being more intentional could influence the amount of work you do get?
In what way do you mean intentional?
Checking up on them, emailing them, following. Okay, actually, this is my plan. This is what I tell people. Like, you should follow them on Instagram. You should engage with their stories or posts by like liking or laughing or commenting or saying something, but just being on their radar constantly so that they remember you and that they know, oh, like they're drawing an interest in my life, or even just texting them. Hey, so-and-so, I was thinking of you today. I hope your day is great, or happy birthday, or hey, Merry Christmas, happy Valentine's Day, things like that. Things just to be on their radar that don't necessarily have to be like, hey, are there any gigs coming up? Or hey, like, but just being intentional, just like you would with anybody. It's a relationship. So in that capacity, taking it to a level where you're being intentional, but also as a result, you're gaining their favor over you because they see, oh, this person actually is drawing an interest towards me.
I've met a lot of models. That's usually how it is. Especially if you have, one agent and, most of your work is just going to be coming through them. So I could see how, that would be beneficial. I have so many agents. So that's another caveat of,
right.
Having a lot of agents, and I can't follow up on all of them, and also I guess maybe it's a little bit of a principle thing. Like if I'm genuinely caring about how they're doing, then I'll ask. I just feel like it's less genuine if I'm doing it for that sort of reward. It's not, it's definitely a me thing. Like it's not something. That's something where it's like, okay, I don't want to maximize in this way just because I don't feel right doing it like that. It feels like I'm only doing it just so that I can get booked.
Right.
So I can get booked more. And that's not how I want to go into relationships in any aspect.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we're talking about professional relationships, not. I think a professional relationship can become a personal relationship, but a professional relationship is important to have. And I think people need to draw the distinction that you need to have a professional relationship with your bookers if you're wanting to see a professional outcome.
Absolutely.
And so I think it can become a personal relationship if you actually like them and you actually connect. Then it becomes, you get the benefit of both, where it's like you guys have this professional relationship and a personal relationship. So now you can be more intentional without having it to be a a means to an end. But I think that still having a professional relationship with them, because you're both working professionals and you know that you need to be on their radar, is still something that's important. But I do understand the principle.
You bring up a good difference between professional and personal relationships. And the way I see professional relationships is responding right away. When they ask for a self-tape, you do the self-tape right away. Kind of just being kind of an active in that way. I think that's like the most important thing. And then the cherry on top is your personal relationship with them.
Yeah, it makes sense though. You have a lot of agencies. It's like you're in an open relationship. So another reason why open relationships probably don't work out. Let's talk about your tattoos. How have they been an advantage for you as a model? And have you noticed them being like a pro or a con? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it's context dependent. Like on the TV and film auditions that I do, a lot of them is just like, they don't want tattoos. Even commercial stuff, like it can come into some issues because there's like rights on like, oh, do you have like a signature from the artist? Is it okay to be broadcasted for this and that? Because tattoo artists have like sued in the past apparently. So
wow, not heard that before.
For the models that do a lot of commercial or they book for like TV or film, then I guess that's more important. As far as modeling, it's only helped. I'm able to book a little bit more streetwear stuff, edgy stuff. Like it doesn't affect like when I do hair care or skin care or whatever. It's only helped with, I guess, my look and
making you more edgy and stand out.
Yeah.
On that note though, what between commercial acting and modeling, which one is bringing you the most income?
It's definitely modeling for sure. Modeling is like the bread and butter, and the commercial acting comes like kind of here and there.
But with the commercial acting, they are more stringent on tattoos from your experience.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges you have in maintaining the body that you got?
After I cut from like 190 to like 160, I was like, oh shoot, how am I going to keep this up? Like I'm so far below what my natural, sitting weight is. So something has to give, and pretty much it gave me a reason to clean up my diet. Like I eat way more healthy now after modeling compared to before modeling. And it's not that I'm eating less. I'm just eating more healthy. Like I have so many more fruits, and like, so that's been another surprise that I didn't think I would do, but it's just, it makes sense to do to maintain, it's more so the leanness. Like if I'm chilling, then I'll gain weight.
Were you told to be a certain way and that's why you had to change? Or did you just kind of observe that? Like how did you come to that conclusion?
No, I was already cutting before I had got into modeling. So like that was kind of like a personal thing. Like I wanted to cut just to see where I sit at this weight. Like it was more so a me thing. And then that's kind of when my mom was like, hey, you should try out this, blah, blah, blah. So, right now I'm sitting at like 170, and that's natural. Like, I work out and I eat healthy, and that's where it's at. I'm not cutting or I'm not bulking.
You're maintaining.
This is just chilling. So that's been the best. I think if I was maintaining at 160, that would be a little bit more difficult.
But your agencies or any of the jobs that you've had, it's never been an issue to come up. They've never asked you, hey, like, can you lean out a little bit more or nothing like that?
In the beginning, pretty much what they're always going to say is maintain a physique that you're able to fit sample sizes, because that's what a lot of campaigns run with. So,
but have you always been athletically built, like even when you started out, or were you thinner when you were signed?
I was about the same. Like I lost a bunch of weight, and now I'm still about the same weight. And I still fit the same sizes.
So you're always kind of like on the athletic side, like the athletic build.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're not the skinny, scrawny model type of person. Like you don't have, like KJ has like really thin builds compared to you, right?
KJ is like ideal for like e-com sort of work, which he does a lot of like e-com stuff where, he'll fit those mediums exactly how they want
it. Yeah. And you fill it out because you have more muscle. But then, like, has it been advantageous though? Like, getting booked for a lot of fitness brands? Do you do a lot of fitness brands?
It's fitness and lifestyle. If I leaned out more, I could probably book more fashion, but I like, I like working out. I'm not gonna stop working out because of it. So it is kind of like a me thing.
Has modeling influenced how you view your body and view yourself as a person, as a man?
I think if you attach this job to your identity, then it definitely would. As I go further, like every year that I do this, I'm very cognizant of not attaching this job to, me as a person. And that's been really the best way to go about it. I've met a lot of people that, they're like one of the most beautiful people, they're models, and their self-esteem is like really low because they put themselves under a microscope. And it's really difficult to kind of fight that off if, you're getting a bunch of like rejections at a casting call or, to this or to that. So separating those two things is definitely something to practice.
It's a good thing that you like working out too, because it just makes it easy for you just to take care of yourself, as opposed to doing it because someone is telling you to, or because like your livelihood is on the line. So with all that being said, is modeling what you thought it was going to be, or is it better than you expected, or just as what you expected it would be?
I didn't have any expectations.
Well, I mean, it's not like you didn't see models on TV or billboards, so there had to be some level of expectation that you thought of when it came to modeling. Has modeling been what not only you have thought it was going to be, but like what the world makes it out to be before someone enters into it?
Modeling seems a lot less tedious with, the casting. Like I do hella self-tapes, and I'll, out of every 20, like I'll get one, right? So that's a lot of time doing self-tapes. And when you see like whatever, a billboard or a commercial, like you don't think of those things. So I guess in that way, I didn't expect it to be in that way, but also I had no expectation of where I should or shouldn't be. So everything has kind of felt like a gift. Every opportunity it's something that I wouldn't have otherwise.
So you've been modeling for 4 years now, and you've modeled for a lot of brands, and you've been doing this for a minute. What advice would you give a male model that is starting out and wanting to do modeling?
I would tell them to, the logistical is, hey, take digitals and submit to agencies and
By Brandon's masterclass.
yeah. So apart from, taking good digitals and submitting correctly, I would say mindset wise that to go into it without the expectation of a certain outcome or a reward of what it can give you, I think the experience alone has utility, and you're able to pick up different sort of, I guess, skills, whether it be interpersonal skills or just confidence when talking to someone or talking in front of a camera. Like that's important. That has face value.
Which makes sense. Do you find yourself more confident having done modeling than before?
For sure. Like absolutely. Like today, yes. I think there's a learning curve to it. Like when you start out, you're getting so many like rejections and no's that it's like, it's kind of difficult to like, shit, man, I'm doing this self-tape and I'm probably not going to get it. 5% chance I'll get this. You learn quickly how to deal with rejections or failure. Like that's important if you want to do this for an extended period of time. So I would say in the beginning, it can feel like your confidence is tested for sure. But now it doesn't, my confidence isn't dependent on whether I get the gig or not. So yes, I'm way more confident in front of, I would have never done a podcast pre-modeling. So
Right.
yeah.
I know that you don't go into things expecting anything. That's what I've gathered from you. You don't expect things, which is good. It's healthy. But having done modeling, are there experiences that you were interested in seeking and like experiencing, like jobs or type of opportunities that you would like to put on your vision board? Like for however long I can do modeling, I would love to be able to do this or work for this company or anything. Not expecting that you will, but just, hey, that'd be cool.
No. No. There's nothing that I'm shooting for.
Okay.
In modeling. Like there's no goals. There's nothing that I'm shooting for. That's just the simple, honest answer. Yeah.
Does that mean that you feel like you've done everything that you felt like you could be doing, or just because it's not something that you're that attached to that anything really impacts you like that?
I think yes to both. I've gotten more from modeling than I ever needed. So, and that's also a sign that, hey, like there's other things that I can learn now. I don't think I'm going to stay in modeling much longer.
That was what was going to be my follow-up question, is like, how much longer do you think this is going to be a thing for you before you get back into your original career path?
Yeah, I think I've learned pretty much most of what I could learn by doing this side quest. And now that it's more chill, I can grow in other areas now. Like I got everything that I wanted out of this. So yeah, I would say maybe 2 years. Maybe I'll do it for another couple years.
Unless you like start making hella money and everyone starts booking you, we're like, oh, we gotta get. Or you can become an actor and people are like, oh my gosh,
No, I even regardless of that, I've thought of if I like, okay, I'm doing all these auditions for acting stuff. Like even if I were to get booked for it, like that's separate from what I enjoy learning. So it wouldn't affect that timeline.
Final question, and then we'll wrap up. What's your purpose in life, or have you found your purpose in life?
I think purpose is a general sort of statement, and I think it changes with each chapter of your life. I think I know a few things about my purpose, but it's not a definitive or specific thing. I know that what fulfills me is how I interact with other people, and if I'm able to help them or inspire them or provide some sort of use for them in a positive direction. It's a very general thing, and it's not profession based. Although the way I choose my profession is based on it, which is an odd thing to think about, but it's how I interact with, anyone, whether it be family or a random person at the gym or, my future patients. There is no clock out for it. Yeah. So
would you say that you're like still figuring it out, or it's still becoming clearer to you?
Yeah, I think it is still becoming clear. And I don't know if it ever, I'm not sure if it's something that is permanent. Like, I think it's something that grows and changes as you grow. Like I said, it's the figuring out that is the biggest part.
I tell people this all the time because I think that everyone should be on a path to finding out what their purpose is, because there's like 3 life paths. Not knowing your purpose, and that's chaotic. I've never known what that's like, and I fear for people that are on that path of life because that's scary, boring, and unfulfilling. But then there are people that are, because I don't know if anyone's even asked you that as directly as I have. I like to ask people that because not a lot of people ask people that question. That's a very profound question that needs to be in our minds, especially in our early 20s. The middle path is, I don't know what my purpose is, but I want to find out what my purpose is, and I'm going to be on the path to finding out what it is. And then there's an entirely different life experience, which is I know my life purpose. And that, when you arrive at that stage in life, it is so much fun. Life is so much more fun because everything you do is more intentional. Every interaction you have, every business you do, every place you go, everything you do has intent. And it's so fulfilling and it's exciting because you wake up and you already know something is going to line up today that has to do with your purpose. And I don't think that it's ambiguous. Like, I don't think people Some people will, some people won't find out. I think everyone has the opportunity to find out what their purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you find out what your purpose is, it starts off pretty general. But then as you grow to understand and heal from your own past and stuff, your purpose becomes more specified and more tailored towards what you're called to do. And when you are doing it, it is profound and powerful and exciting and fun and joyous. And yes, it does not matter what you do specifically. At least for me, I find that I'm fulfilling my purpose, whether I'm doing this, whether I'm at the gym, whether I'm eating food, wherever I am at. That's why I can do anything in terms of like, I can do music, or I can do photography, or I could drive Uber. I was driving Uber in like 2019 when I didn't have money, but I was still fulfilling my purpose. And that's an exciting life. The only thing that it comes down to, though, is like, where do you go to draw? Where do you go? Who is putting that calling on our lives to fulfill a purpose? I think that's where it gets confusing for people. And that's why people kind of stay in the middle, because they don't know who's calling them to live a purposeful life. And then that gets into spirituality, and that gets into like whether you believe in God or energy or the universe. But I believe in God, so I believe I am called by God to do a very specific thing with my life. And when I do it, there's fruit that it produces, and it has an impact, and it has influence. So that is an exciting place to be in. And I think that when you are on these side quests of life, side quests are fun and they're exciting, but it's even more exciting when you're also the overall quest of life, whether it's, becoming a doctor, doing modeling. The overall quest is figuring out what my purpose is and what I am called to do, and figuring out who is that person that is calling me to do it and what this all means. Because I think that's what this is all about.
Do you think that there's just one purpose, or there are multiple in one person's life?
I think that, okay, you want me to tell you what I think my purpose is in life?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I'm called to make this generation of young men into kings. And specifically, when I think of a king, though, I think of a servant. So my mindset of a king is a servant, someone that serves people and leads only decides to lead because no one else is leading, but loves the most, is wise, seeks to be understanding, seeks to be compassionate, but is also a fighter, is also strong, is very confident, is fearless. They don't have fear. And they are invaders of the culture. They form culture, and very, very powerful individuals. Essentially completely opposite of what I feel like males are groomed into being nowadays, which I find that a lot of boys are just very insecure. They place their identity in materialistic things, which makes them insecure and easily able to just become anything that anybody around them tells them to be, which makes them live for the opinions of people. Mm-hmm. And powerless. And I believe that we can tap into power of our own lives to lead ourselves, because then when we can lead our families, and we can raise children that do love, that are effective in society, so that people aren't depressed because they don't have friends, because their kids in school don't know how to be loving to kids because their parents never taught them to be that way. Mm-hmm. It's an actual thing, but I believe specifically like to lead them to God, to have a relationship with their creator is specifically. So to answer your question, do I believe, you said if it changes, I think your daily objectives change, but your purpose doesn't. So I think you can have a daily objective that looks differently. Like today's mission is you're going to go do something that you absolutely hate that does not align with your purpose. But the purpose aspect of it, where I find it, how it ties into our experiences, is that a purpose, because you mentioned something when I asked you that, you're like, it's not related to your profession, and you're right, it's not. It's related to your past, though. A purpose is something that's connected to your past and what you went through. The reason it's your purpose is because you experienced something in your life, and it's why you can speak into that situation and why others can't. And you have this ability to speak into that thing very personally and very effectively because you experienced a certain thing. Mm-hmm. That made what you went through make sense because of how it impacts that person or that thing, that objective, that task that you're fulfilling. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it doesn't ever change, because your past never changed.
If you said your purpose becomes more specific, isn't that an example of it changing?
Like, give me an example.
So if it's like a Play-Doh and this is purpose, right? And as you go along life, it's formed and molded in ways that create something beautiful. And that's kind of how I see, like, it doesn't change entire directions. It's a linear path that, like you said, from your past and, you know, how you act in the present, it kind of forms a direction that you don't know where it's going to lead. And you don't know how specific or how general it's going to mold. I still do think that at any given point, it can take a different direction, is what not a completely separate direction, but just a different direction. And I think what we're saying kind of goes along the same line with, yes, it can become more specific. And in doing so, by definition, it changes.
Oh, okay. So what I would say to what you just said is I believe it gets clearer and it can look like it changes because it becomes clearer. Almost like if you're like on a boat and you're like going to a certain destination, your destination doesn't change, but your journey does, right? But your destination is always going to be your destination, and it only becomes more clear where you're going the closer you get to it. But the journey looks different. So sometimes you might be in treacherous waters. Sometimes it might be cloudy or sunny. And sometimes there might be an island that you pass by, or there might be a city, whatever. Yeah. So in that perspective, yes, your journey changes, but the destination is the same. And the view of your destination only gets, you're farther from it or you're closer to it. So that's kind of how I would, but I think we're saying kind of similar concept.
Yeah, I think there's more similarities than differences in what we're saying. I have another question. I feel like the interviewer now. Do you think this purpose is predestined or created?
That's a good point. From my belief system, there's this concept of like God's perfect will for our lives, and then like what we do to deviate from God's perfect will. And then when we stray away from God's perfect will and we decide to come back to him, it's basically like a recalibration process. But by that point, you've either experienced life in different ways. So how does that affect your ultimate perfect will? And I think the answer to that is I'll never know what my perfect will was. Like what was supposed to be, I'll never know. And I can never know, only God knows. So do I think that I was born to do this? I think generally we're all born, from my belief system, to lead people to God and lead people to experience an awesome relationship with God. So if you boil it down, what my purpose is, that's essentially what I'm doing, is just leading people to have a relationship with God. But where I say it's more specific, it's I, for whatever reason, can affect a specific subgroup of humans that are like younger, that are male, that I understand what they are going through, and that when I am engaging with them, it has profound effect. And like I can't apply that to girls that are the same age because I don't relate to that. I'm not a female. So in that regard, I don't know. I can't really answer that specifically, but I also don't have to know, because it's always like, it's kind of like saying like, who would you be if I didn't grow up with divorced parents in a very dysfunctional home? Would I be the same person? No. And does that mean that I am who I was supposed to be, or I'm not who I'm supposed to be because my house was broken? Don't know. But what's the point of, like, it's kind of, and I'm not saying that what you're asking is irrelevant. That's a good question. I'm just like, it's kind of, I don't know. Like, I will never know,
I think you articulated that like really well. And I agree with a lot of what you said. And, purpose is like, I feel like it could be something that's super daunting, something that's like, oh shoot, if you don't know it, then it's like, oh shit, what am I doing? But like you said, it's with life experience, and as you go through it, it becomes a little bit more clear. Even if it's unintentional and life just happens and it comes at you and, you react, I think that can still be part of your purpose. I think that still forms and molds kind of who you are. And in doing so, that becomes part of it becoming clear. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
Do you feel like you would like to have more like deeper conversations?
No, I wasn't expecting you to ask a question like that. Like that's why I was kind of like, oh shit, all right.
Well, it's because having asked all these questions, there seems to be more to you than just modeling. And I'm curious, you having no expectation, no even like future desire to like want to do something it's not, those aren't bad things, but it shows me like, oh, like you're actually more, what you think about and what matters to you is a lot deeper than just modeling, right? And that's cool and that's interesting to peek into. But I also wonder, because of the whole expectation thing, like I wonder what his purpose is, like what he finds is his purpose with everything that you do. Because I'm kind of, I guess what I was wondering while I was interviewing you is like, what are you seeking in life? You know, because if you don't have expectations in something in something like modeling, what is your expectation of life?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to frame it. I think if framing it that way, I think the perspective of how just naturally humans think about things is very goal oriented, and with a goal, it's kind of based on an outcome, and that is, you reach the goal or you don't. It's very black and white. And I think a goal is very different from a mission. It seems like you're very mission based, where a mission is broad and you don't really reach it. A mission is, I want to help as many people as I can. You know, that isn't a tangible sort of thing to think about compared to, I want to help, 250 people, with this and that, or that, or, it's very specific. And, I think thinking in ways where I'm just maximizing as much as I can, regardless of, reaching a certain sort of like, number.
Objective.
Like I'm just trying to optimize, how I can impact people. Really, like that's what I'm seeking. And that's why I'm kind of on this podcast, because even though it has nothing to do with healthcare, it's just like I'm giving advice on modeling.
Right.
But still, like, am I helping? Like, okay, if I can go on this podcast and help them, maybe they'll get them more work, which is kind of a side thing. Like, if their mindset, like, I think I can provide maybe a different mindset to people thinking about it and going into this industry.
Well, you did it. And I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and having this conversation.
Appreciate you having me, man.
No, I think this is great. I think that it's going to help a lot of people for sure, especially people, like I said, that look up to you and want to hear from like your experience and stuff. But thank you for coming on, bro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
And we can wrap it up, but I look forward to seeing bigger projects from you coming up, and then maybe we'll set up a test shoot so everyone can see what it looks like to shoot.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to today's show, and don't forget to hit that follow button to be in the loop when a new episode drops. Be sure to check out my model masterclass by visiting my website, brandonandrephoto.com, or by clicking the link in my bio on Instagram @thebrandonandre.